Hi, Laurie here, coming to you live for another Dark Heresy invasion session that we've just played last week. It's a bit late for me to be doing this, I've been meaning to, but I haven't had the time. And today I'm feeling a little bit rough, so pardon me for my voice and my nose. Right, first things first. Now this should be session 8, I believe. I may be wrong. I think it's session 8 at least anyway. And I also apologise for any background noise that may be going on here and there. So yes, session 8 begins with us, the players, of the group, sorry, sitting down after having dealt with an ambush from the Royal Scourges. Now, we've arrived there and we've got all these details that we need to check up on. Sabrina's off in her room, just checking things up, making sure everything's right. Whilst we're sat around doing our own thing. Whilst this is all going on, in the end of it all, at least anyway, Sabrina calls us into the office, or we went into the office because someone knocked and she told us all to come in. Can't remember exactly. And we discovered that we know where and when the next terrorist attack is going to take place. Unfortunately, it's today within the next few hours, and it's going to. We could get there easily by hovercraft thing, but unfortunately, we did have too many people for the hovercraft to actually take us all in one go, and it'd be problematic to come back and forth. Guys, sorry about this. Just the two. Just as making stuff. So, yeah. Where was I? Oh, yes. So we had to decide, we had to walk, and then we had to decide who we take with us. Of course, we won't have enough if we just take the arbitrators and ourselves, so we have to make a decision on who else is going to help. An obvious factor is the Royal Scourges. Now, considering that we believe they are not on our side, it'd be a bad idea for us to take them, and the Baron suggests that we ask the mutants that we had got on side in the last game session to help us out. Emma was against this idea because Michael, who plays Emma, rolled know the mutant, kill the mutant as a divination. So he has a real dislike of mutants to that effect. He's playing very good RP there. I think I might be playing mine a little bit off. The gun is mightier than the sword, but then again, considering we're actually using a sword, I can argue that I can go a bit melee.
Friday or poached?
Preferred poached.
Poached.
Yeah.
Right.
This is making breakfast, or a bit late for breakfast, time and frame, but yes. So we ended up putting this to a vote. And it ended up going more votes for getting aid from the mutants than asking for the Royal Scourges. Much to Emma's dislike. The Baron said he'd be back there and back within half hour. And Solara telling him to keep his face hidden and not get recognized.
Did you say funny?
Yeah. So, as we were waiting for the Baron to get back, two things of importance happened. First up, a bunch of serfs came up and asked us, is the Saint King here? After knocking on the arbitrator's up-center door type thing. We believe that they were talking about having seen the Baron, so we're a little bit annoyed that the Baron himself gets spotted so easily. And the second piece of thing, the second thing that happened was when Vinalda went out of the op center to have a smoke, or whatever she was doing, she was hearing some rambunctious activity, much louder than you would expect from a normal crowd of people. In the fact, it was a din that could be only caused by an ogre. Yeah. Daka, when she found him, was shit-faced drunk. So drunk that, in fact, the Michael beat in his ear, he was going on, oh, I can hear voices in my head. I'm like, Vinolda ended up dragging him back. He's like, we need to dump a bucket of fucking water on this tall sod's head. And all other type of hangover cures because he was so utterly shit-faced. So, yeah, that was the setup, basically. Then came the part where we actually got to the quarry, or whatever it was, where the mining situation was going on for the terrorist attack from the broken chains. Now, it was us on one floor, on the second floor. There was like 8+ floors to this place, so it's like going down. So, yeah. We were all situated on the second floor with some of the royal arbitrators and mutants below us and above. And obviously we had the Baron, Sabrina and Daka on the first floor. Now, things were all going very nice and peaceful. We were walking around making sure things were okay. And then the attack started. We heard noises coming from one particular cavern in general, but these attacks came from all over in the end of things. Right. Now, Emma and Vinolda were the two closest to this cavern, and like 3 normal mutants came out, and 1 giant hulking bastard showed up. The giant attacked Vinolda and almost killed her outright on 2 attacks. She went into the criticals in like 2 rounds of combat. The other 3, this is where I made a reference, it's like, oh, this is like an XCOM terror mission, because we had like flame guys coming from one side and other mutants coming from all over the place, and they were just killing serfs and workers, and we were just losing people left and right. It's like, oh no, civilians are dying, we're gonna get paid less for this mission. But yes, there were like 3 mutants that were right next to Emma, and it was my turn. I'm like, oh dear, Emma is about to get shanked badly here. I actually made a reference to actually the point due to the fact that Emma and Variel are constantly going on. Well, it's a little in-game joke about how that because when the players who play Emma and Variel aren't there, they're going about how they're in the corner making out, and the fact that Emma is a cougar. I was like, okay, I'm charging in to stop Emma from getting gangbanged. Was my joke at the time. But you know, I just went in because I knew, like, I can't let her get hurt because she's the squishy little scholar. I can take the hits. Admittedly, even more so than I was actually believing I could take the hits, because I actually took no damage from them, because they were using knives and they were hitting me every round with the knives, and they were constantly rolling 1s for damage, which was equated to 4, and my armor just took that off before I even had to worry about toughness. So Darius was just standing there as like, I'm a fucking badass, you can't hurt me. This went on for several rounds just like that, until Vario comes along and ends up taking the place on the last one that's left alive. Vinolda, who has pulled back several times to stop herself from getting flattened into a nice tiny paste by the big hulking giant thing, pulled away enough that Solomon could launch a flamer attack at it, and Vario ended up cutting it up after Vario. This happened before Vario moved on to the last survivor on my side of things, and unleashed a full auto burst from her gun into this thing, killing it in the end. Solario and Emma were taking pot shots here and there from things around us, multiple mutants. Serfs were dying from flamer attacks and las pistol shots all over from the mutants. A grenade was thrown, but it didn't kill the guy. The guy who dodged the grenade, he dodged so badly that he ended up throwing himself off of the side of the platform. The platform's made of wood, so Solomon's flamer ended up setting fire to the place. At a later point, Daka ended up falling from the first floor to our floor with some hulking beast of a creature. At the same time, the Baron cried out and said something along the lines of how he recognized that some guy was like, I killed you, I'm so going to make sure you don't come back, because it's the main bad guy for this mission. I can't remember his name, Moria or something. For those of you who've watched Rob's channel, we've actually played this mission, so I'm doing my best to keep stum about certain things, but it's being played in a different fashion as well. So while I may have some insight, I don't have full insight because Robin's doing his own thing. And he has done a lot to change things about as it is already, so I'm left out of the loop at the same time as being in the loop partially. So, yes. As this thing fell down, Daka ended up brawling with it and ended up again falling down, falling in even further down through like several floors, because he's a big hulking ogre. Solaria tried using spasm and other psychic powers to try and lock it down. It didn't work. It was immune to them, or didn't seem to actually feel it, for whatever reason. Darius broke away from the combat he was in, ran all the way up to this thing, and I'm not using it, but I am recording. I'll be done in a minute. I just have to edit it at some point is all. Or not. So Darius ran up to it and started, and well, after a few shots went into it and he smashed it with his hammer. We ended up in a situation where it revealed to be the big, oozy, tentacle part machine monster thing that pretty much almost destroyed Vinolda in the previous game session, and now Darius is point blank with it as well. And that is pretty much where we left off. So, until our next session and our next vidcast recording, whatever, I bid you adieu and see you next time.